All right, good morning, everyone. Happy Monday. Do a quick little market outlook, go over a couple of top ideas. And again, if you have any charts you want to go over, just post them in this chat in here, and we'll go over them once we get through this. So starting with the strongest sector right now is the energy sector. And we can see it in this upward channel. Obviously, if you're trying to initiate some longs up here, probably not the best idea. But if you are already holding any energy names, probably a good idea to continue to do so, and just understand that it's probably going to continue to trade in this range. Getting up near its short-term level of resistance, maybe pushes through here, but eventually comes back in this range and continues this kind of little stair-step pattern higher until it eventually gets back to its pre-2015 high. So it seems, if you give it a year or two, that's probably going to be where this sector is going to be headed. In the short term, a few sectors that are setting up, we have utilities, up through this 156 blue sky breakout in time. Again, in the short term, we're probably going to come closer into support, which is going to be more of a recurring theme with a lot of these sectors. I think going into this week and next week that we got the nice little bounce, and now we're kind of losing some of that momentum. And if we could see these little low volume pullbacks, should be pretty healthy. And something just to be aware of. So again, for utilities looking good in time through this 156 all-time high. Let's see REITs as well, more of a little sneaky buyback up through this 108 area. Again, in the short term, we're probably going to have to see this 100 level get shaken out. And either this is like a topping pattern and it's going to roll down through 100 and come closer to the 200-day, or we get a little shakeout and it turns right back up. And then we're still in this, we'll call it a 16% range between 100 and 160. That I'm going to take it, day by day and see what happens. And lastly, another strong sector has been the financials. It's been flagging for a few months now in this 10% range between 90 and 100. And right now, again, we don't want to be buying this today or tomorrow if it's going through 102. But if this can continue to consolidate, tighten up a little bit more, maybe this support instead of being 90, which the prior support was 85. Earlier of last year, middle of last year, now it's kind of stepped up to this 90, 92 area. As it continues to tighten up, eventually one or two things are going to happen. Either we're going to break out, stay higher, or we'll have a very defined out to get out and move out of the way if this sector needs to reset. But for now, a lot of the financial names have looked pretty well. Morgan Stanley, blue sky breakout, tickled it last week, but again, it was pretty extended. Couple sectors to avoid. We have the industrials. Again, we can just see this pretty clear H pattern forming, and this seems to again be this recurring theme with a lot of the sectors that we got the bounce, but it seems that we're kind of losing some of that momentum, and we might have to see some lower prices before we can kind of get back in the upper ends of the range. And this is where if you can keep an eye on these things when they do get down here, these sectors, you have a good idea of whether to really get out, or if it just kind of pushes down to those support levels and kind of starts to come back, you can find those low risk entries. That's often the times when even the chat will be very quiet because the market just looks very crappy. And if you can find those opportunities, you can get the much better buy, buying 185 versus 182 compared to when everything looks great, buying 105 and you're risking, $10+. SPY kind of seems the same. We can see 460 has been the new shorter term area of resistance, 480 being the all-time high, and then 420 being the major support level for now. And given that 460 pretty much got rejected last week, and we closed pretty much reversing the prior week's action, it seems more than likely we're going to continue to come back into this range, come back into 420, which again is completely fine. If this is more a sideways range bound market, we have to expect to see the sectors or markets come near its major support. So as it comes back down into here, I wouldn't be rushing to try to buy 420 on the way down. Let's wait and see how it reacts to that level. It has to shake down through. Again, it's not a super hard level, and like it needs to hold. It can easily break 420 and still come down to 400 and still be fine. So just be aware that this could be a much bigger range that we can continue to trade in as the year progresses. Technology, tech sector, NASDAQ, very similar with the SPY and industrial. Just, we got that bounce off the lows from 3 weeks ago, and now it seems to be we're kind of coming back into that. And lastly, the telecom sector, just an all-around avoid, just stage 4 breakdown, just very controlled selling, just like with energy, kind of controlled, just buying on the way up. The complete opposite with Telecom, just lower lows, lower highs. We just really want to avoid this sector in general until we can see this trade, this trend start to base out and eventually start to work its way higher. Moving on to a couple of names. The only real swing I had on from last week was this X-Ray. Bought up through 54. Probably was a little bit late to the entry. But for now, just giving it, about $1 risk with the target being this 58. That's the ideal area. But again, if I can get a push to 56, 57, I'm more likely to look to take some off into that move. And the top 3 names that I'm keeping a closer eye on is going to be this LMT, very big weekly level up through this 400. Probably is going to need a little bit of time still, but we can see it's been getting pretty tight up here versus 380. And this level's been going back for almost 2 years now. We have this WSFC, a financial name. We mentioned earlier that financial names have been pretty strong lately. And if they are going to break that higher through that flag and it's not a topping pattern, this WSFC could be one where we can see that move eventually up through this 56. Again, for now, it's the stops for 50, but when we get to that point when it's probably ready, we'll have a bunch more to find out. And lastly is this MU. Again, these are more, broader patterns, kind of on the weekly charts that have been setting up, not necessarily very short-term swings. But we can see this MU, this 98 level. It retested it, it's pulled back, and we've started to see these higher pivot lows, which are great signs to see where we can kind of define our risk. So this could be a name, maybe needs until next earnings, but this could be one up through 98, 100 that definitely could be good in time. So again, those are the names I'm looking at for the week and kind of my outlook. I know Kusha had a couple or one or two names he was looking at, and if any of you guys have anything else you want to go over, this would definitely be the time to do so.
Ben, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So I have my eyes on the SPY right now just to kind of see, the main question I have is it gonna put in a higher low and continue, and is this the beginning of a new uptrend, or is this going to come back down to 420 or even lower and just kind of H over? So it's definitely like a wait and see moment right now. We had a huge change in sentiment between Thursday, Friday, where we thought everything was beautiful. We were going to push to highs, breaking that 460 level. And clearly we fell off pretty hard. And we're right at like that 50% retracement, right? Support's 420, resistance is 460. We're right in the middle at 440. So this is like decision-making time, I think, for the market to see if we go higher or lower. I'm looking at a few names that have earnings this week just to see if it's going to be like is that going to destroy them, or is it going to kind of save them, which is NVIDIA, which is the first one that's sort of in this controlled selling downtrend over the last few months, but not, compared to a lot of other tech stocks, it's not completely falling off the face of the earth. But I want to see this, there's earnings in like 2 days. So I want to see if this is going to push back higher. Are they going to have good numbers and push higher, or are they going to break that support soon? And then the other one is this RBLX Roblox, which is back at these IPO prices. Nothing I really want to do with it yet. Obviously, there's a lot of overhead resistance, but this is another one that I'm asking myself, is this going to get saved, or is it going to fall through support and head lower? So just watching mostly for sentiment and seeing what we do later on in the week.
Nice. All right. I'm trying to find the chat thing on here.
I got the chat here. So Fred actually has a question for Ben. He asked if you short, and if not, and the market breaks down, would you consider shorting, or do you just stay out?
So me personally, I don't short. I don't use any margins. So I don't have the ability to short. Can you short? It's really up to you. The tricky part, I think, with shorting is that even if we look at Roblox, for example, we look at it, okay, ran up to 140 and it completely came back to 50. And I feel like when a lot of people are thinking of shorting, the thought is, I'm going to short this, Roblox here, and I'm going to hold it and make this, crazy, 50, 60, 80% return. And I feel like that's a lot of times the assumption when people are shorting. It's like they're going to catch this major swing to the downside and make a ton of money. But in the reality, and there was a member in the cost group who started to short recently, and he like shorted Apple here. And it was like he was going to hold it until like the world was going to end. He was going to cover it at like 50, or it was like a crazy idea he had. And then he literally covered it like the next day. I forget. I don't know. Did he make money in it, or was it like break even?
Yeah, he was up. He cut it for profit, which is good. He got out when he had a little bit of profit. But yeah, like as you can see, this clearly would have been a roller coaster of a trade, because you think the world's ending right there at that 167, and then it just bounces right back up to highs. So it's definitely choppy to try and short, and like at least long-term shorting. And most of the time when people are looking to short, it's usually time to start buying, because the people who aren't really familiar with shorting tend to be very late to the shorting party. But that's definitely, everyone has their own ways of doing things, and studying how to short and adding that to your tool belt it's not a bad idea. But definitely, take it very slow, trade very small, so you can kind of understand the concept, because it is different from going long, no matter how much you want to just say that it's just inverting it. There's a lot of psychological differences and price action differences, but look at it, study it, because that's even if you don't short, if you know how to short properly, then you'll know how to play the long again, because then you'll recognize when it's too late to short, which means it's probably time to buy. So it's always good to know both sides of the coin.
Yeah, I think also one of the other common things is that with shorting, it's like and for this person in particular, it's like he wanted to short the strongest name because it had gone up so much it had to come down. And I think even with buying, like even we think of, one of the guys in Alpha last week was thinking of buying Netflix because it had come down so much. And it's like, it's so beat up. Like there's probably easier things to buy than this thing that's the most beat up. And my point of this is like, if you are going to look to short, don't try to short or look for the shorts. Like I'm going to short Roblox because it's gone up so much. I'm going to catch this turn. It's so much easier just to find the worst names and just short those names through the 52-week low. So if I pull up the S&P right now and I go to like I'm trying to find like the worst performing stock of last week.
AMD got destroyed last week. Well, on Friday at least.
No, so I'm looking more so for like a name that's like near its 52-week low. So I'm just gonna go to
Facebook. Facebook is there.
So okay, here we go. So this is a name where like if you're gonna look to short, if it were me, I want to look at the most garbage name that are out there. Whatever this NLSN is, super cheap name. We can see this base that was forming, and it was like I would much rather short this down through 19 and give it 50 cents or even $1 and catch that move lower than trying to catch the short where most people think they're going to catch it here. And that's just a much harder part than when everyone is kind of screwed here. Catching the short down here is much easier. So if you're going to look for shorting, look for the names that are hitting 52-week lows, and then try to find that name where it's bear flagging. You can short down through that low on a defined out, and that would be the way that I would do it. But again, I don't personally short. I just focus on buying.
And only wear shorts on vacation. The only time. I know that Kusha mentioned a stock in Alpha Chat. He was looking at CMC, Commercial Metals Company, through 36.25.
The earnings aren't until end of March, so definitely have plenty of time. Chart wise, definitely see what's looking at here. We can definitely see the very nice consolidation that this name has had for the better part of the year. That's not really helping us. We can see the 200-day that's catching up. So the only tricky part is like if you're buying 36, you're definitely going to see some selling in this 38, 39 area. Mm-hmm. So if you're going into that and saying, I'm going to take some profits here and know that it's probably going to stay in this range a little bit longer because it hasn't cleared this level yet. But definitely see what's looking at. Definitely looks, you have a lot of things in its favor, all higher lows, the 200 acting support. So definitely all good things.
I think that has to, what's going to decide whether this goes higher or lower is kind of just the overall market action, which is kind of good in relation to that post that I just put in Alpha Chat, just talking about like, it's not just about finding a bull flag and buying through resistance and a stop under support, because if other things aren't lining up, say like overall market action, to me, this actually looks more range bound, and it looks like a great opportunity to short if it rejects this 36 and then, look to play it to the downside. If the market starts to be strong, then I would look to long. But I think it's a pretty nice setup. I agree that it would probably just stay in this range a little bit longer though.
Yeah. All right. Any other ideas in the chat here?
I think that's it. I don't see much in the chat. Maybe we'll give somebody the last 30 seconds if they have anything they want to pitch. And it doesn't look like it.
All right, guys. Well, any ideas you have throughout the day, just post them in the chat. If you guys have any questions, you can always reach out. We're always here to help. So good luck trading today.
Cool. Thanks, Ben. See ya.
See you guys.